Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Darklord deck profile, which is my second favorite deck of all time, which we are getting close to the end of the 30 days of deck profiles, which I'm kind of happy and kind of sad about all at once, because I'm really enjoying going through all of my favorite decks of all time for hitting my 10,000 subscribers, but while we were doing this, we actually hit 11,000 subscribers, which I'm really excited to tell you guys, and I'm really excited that we hit it so fast. We hit it within a month of hitting 10,000 subscribers, which is really crazy, and I'm super excited to show you guys this one. And the next one, I will go ahead and tell you, is Blackwings. Blackwings will be my favorite deck of all time and #1 on the list. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So this deck is Darklords with a twist, and that's what I love so much about Darklords, is being able to play so many different variants of Darklords. Like, you could play Shadow Darklords, you could play Luna Control Darklords, trained Darklords. I mean, there's just so many versions of this deck, and this is the deck that I settled on this time. So I'm going to be playing 3 copies of Darklord of Shell. Basically, you can discard her to and one of the Darklord monster to draw 2 cards directly from your deck, which is super good of an effect to be able to just instantly draw those additional cards to dig deeper in the deck. That's something Darklords are really famous for, is being able to dig deep into the deck. And then all the Darklord monsters just about share the ability that you can shuffle a Darklord spell or trap directly from your graveyard back into your deck, pay 1,000 life points, and then apply that effect as if it was this monster's own effect. For instance, with Darklord Banishment, you could send this from the graveyard back to the deck, and then you could add any Darklord card from your deck to your hand after activating that one time already that turn to be able to search twice, which is just really good. 1 copy of Darklord Morningstar. I feel like this card is really good as a one-of, to be able to just tribute summon out and then be able to special summon Darklord monsters up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls, which is just really good to be able to swarm the board, to be able to go for link plays, and to be able to OTK your opponent really fast. I mean, we play enough names in the deck that it's not a big deal to be able to special summon a bunch of Darklords out and just OTK our opponent with them. Really good card. Really emphasize playing it as at least a one-of. 2 copies of Darklord Nazton. Everybody that plays Darklords always bumps between 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. Right now I'm playing 2 because I'm playing a sub-engine in here that I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But basically you discard 2 other Darklord cards to special summon him from your hand. I wish it was 1, because the 2 is kind of a high cost to discard, and then he does share the effect that you can pay 1,000, shuffle a Darklord spell or trap into the deck, and then activate his effects of his own. The one that doesn't is actually Darklord Morningstar. He does not have that ability to be able to do that, but that's not that big of a deal. 1 copy of Amadeus. Amadeus is basically you discard it and 1 other Darklord card to target a Darklord card in your graveyard and then add it to your hand, which is really good to be able to do. He shares the ability as well to be able to just, pay 1,000 and then shuffle something back in, or pay 1,000 and then shuffle something back in the deck and apply its effect as if it was his own, which is really good in Darklords, because you can just use like Contact to be able to shuffle it back and be able to grab, extra cards that you might need or something like that, to be able to just do the things that you need to do in Darklords, to be able to just go into all sorts of different crazy plays. The next one that we're playing as a 3 of is going to be 3 copies of Darklord Superbia. Darklord Superbia and Darklord of Shell are kind of like the bread and butter of the deck. What you want to do normally is discard a Shell to be able to discard Superbia at the same time, to get them both into the graveyard to draw 2 cards off the top of your deck. And then after you get them in the graveyard, you can just activate something like Contact to bring back Superbia, and Superbia's effect is that when it's in the graveyard and it's revived, you can just instantly special summon another Darklord monster from your graveyard, and it's just like awesome to be able to target, or any fairy monster, not just Darklords. I remember using this with Arklord Christia a lot, to be able to just special summon this card back and just shut down my opponent to be able to go into all sorts of different plays, and just completely close out what my opponent could do in the game. So this card is a really good 3 of, and you have to play this card at 3 if you're going to be playing Darklords. So the next one that I play is one copy of Darklord Zerato. Darklord Zerato is essentially like Raigeki. You just flip it face up, and once you flip it, or once you get it on the field, you can just basically pay, I believe it's 1,000 life points. I believe it's 1,000. Is it 1,000? No, you send a dark monster from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So it's essentially like a walking Raigeki, which is really, really, really good. Like crazy good effect to be able to just completely destroy your opponent's board and just get all the cards that you need out of the way to OTK your opponent. This is one of my main cards that if I can special summon, or if I can normal summon Darklord Morningstar, I'm always going to use this card to be able to special summon onto the field to go and just destroy all the cards my opponent controls, to go into so many different plays that it's just crazy. To be able to link summon off of the summons that you get from your Darklord Morningstar is just so good. And it's really, really crazy to be able to do. Darklords are super fun, though. Like, I highly recommend, if you haven't played with them, you should totally try them at least once to see how you like them. So the next one that we're going to be playing is 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend is super good in the deck because you can just special summon out your Darklords really easily, and tribute at your last play is to summon this and then go into like something like, like summon your entire field and then summon this to go into your opponent not being able to special summon anything. And you not being able to special summon anything, but you've already established your board. Then my little sub-engine that I'm playing in here is going to be the Dangers. So I'm going to be playing 3 copies of Bigfoot, 2 copies of Nessie, and 2 copies of Jackalope. I'm not playing the Snake because all of my Darklords are high levels, and I don't feel like I need it so much. And it makes it really easy to summon Vanity's Fiend because you just special summon one of these, and then after you special summon one of these, you just tribute it to summon Vanity's Fiend. And you're not really concerned about what you send to the graveyard as well with Darklords. Like, after you discard all the stuff that you need to discard, you're not really concerned about it. So Dangers are really good to be able to link with, and they're all dark, so they work with Allure of Darkness as well. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we are going to be playing 3 copies of Darklord Banishment. Darklord Banishment is essentially Rhoda. It lets you add any Darklord card you want from your deck to your hand, which is extremely powerful to be able to do, and even pay the 1,000 life once to get 2 searches if you have a Darklord monster on the field. 3 copies of Darklord Contact. This is essentially Monster Reborn, but you can do it twice. You don't pay anything. You just special summon a Darklord monster in your graveyard in defense position. So you special summon Superbia, then special summon Superbia, special summon a shell, pay 1,000, special summon another Superbia, and then special summon something else from your graveyard, and you've already got a link 4 right there. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness because everything's dark. 3 copies of Trade-In. Trade-In is essentially you discard level 8, which we now have Bigfoot in the deck. We have Superbia, which is the main one you want to discard, and you have Zerato to discard as well to be able to draw 2. And then 3 copies of Called by the Grave just to stop our opponent's hand traps, because you are going to get hand trapped in this deck, but you're going to draw so much it's not going to matter. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. The traps is where this deck like super shines. Like, I have to really emphasize that. Traps is where this deck really shines. And I'm saying that with 3 Monster Reborns in this deck. So we're going to be playing 1 copy of Darklord Rebellion. Basically, you get to send a Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your side of the field to the grave to destroy a card. But if you pay the 1,000, you just destroy the card because that counts as the cost. 2 copies of the Sanctified Darklord. Sanctified Darklord is send a Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Negate the effect of 1 effect monster on the field until the end phase of the turn. If you do, you gain life points, which is really good as well, and you don't have to do the send if you pay the 1,000 off of a Darklord effect, and that can be activated during your opponent's turn. And then I play 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus, which I really don't understand why this card's at 3, but it's at 3. So we play it at 3. Eradicator Epidemic Virus is basically Pendulums are over with, Sky Striker's over with. Like, the majority of decks just cry when you activate this and you call spells. There's usually, I'll go first and set this, and I'll dig deep enough because it's really easy to dig, and I always get this first turn. Set it, and then on my opponent's turn, tribute any dark monster that has 25 or more attack, and then just watch them cry. So that's it for the traps, guys. Highly recommend Eradicator. If you're going to play a Darklord deck, definitely play Eradicator at 3. Definitely play Eradicator at 3. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to be playing one copy of Super Dreadnought Cannon Juggernaut Libby, which is extremely easy to get out with 2 shells after you link some or XYZ summon a Super Dreadnought Cannon Super Dora or a Gustav Max to be able to burn your opponent for 2,000 or make it immune to everything, and then just OTK your opponent with Juggernaut Libby. 38 Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy, really easy to go into. Felgrand because it's Felgrand and it's easy to make in here. 23 because 23 is also easy to make in here. These are my 3 rank 8s that I really like going into a lot. I thought about playing Heliopolis, but I didn't want to play Heliopolis because I liked this better, because basically it can attack your opponent directly, and that extra 2k burn can really help you. And it also has the effect of when it inflicts damage to your opponent, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and then once per turn during either player's turn, when a spell, trap, or another monster's effect is activated, detach a material from this card and negate the activation. Which this card is super good to just make and just sit on, and your opponent's like, what does that do? And you're like, oh, it attacks you directly, and then they activate something next turn, you're like, detach, negate. One copy of Flare Metal. Flare Metal's here for the burn, 500. And one copy of Big Eye for the XYZs to round off all the XYZs. One copy of Boral Sword to OTK your opponent's really easy to make this. Soryuja is really easy to make as well, because I want to get that Eradicator as soon as possible. And like I said before, it's really easy to open up Contact to Shell Superbia, and then just discard 2, draw 2 more, and then get more Dark Lords in the graveyard extremely easily, and then just special summon this thing, and it's easy to dig. One copy of Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. This card's really easy to summon in this deck and just negates for days. You just summon this and your opponent's like, how do I deal with that? And they don't. They usually don't end up dealing with this card and end up getting like -3 or 4 off of this card, or getting it down to like 1,600. Like, if you can open Eradicator and this, you've won. I mean, what are they going to do? You've already negated all their spells, and all they have left is monster effects. And if you can get this thing up to 32, you just instantly just start negating all their effects. So, I mean, this card's easy to make. One copy of Blackluster Soldier, because it's kind of like the sword of the deck. You want to make this card to be able to just stop your opponent and, like, deal so much damage to your opponent. One copy of Nightmare Unicorn to bounce stuff, and one copy of Wee Witch because everything's dark in the main deck, and you want to make them all go up. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this one. You don't have to play these 2. I know these 3 right here are really expensive cards. You don't have to play them if you don't want to. I highly recommend changing them out if you can't afford it. Maybe change them out for a Boral Load and Nightmare Phoenix and Unicorn if you want to go a little bit cheaper of a route in this deck. You can. That's totally an option. I just play it because I have it. So anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think of this deck profile down in the comments down below. Hit that bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.